you are live.
Good morning everybody, and welcome to the waning April moon. Well, it's now the waning May moon, I suppose. You are, believe it or not on some kind of science fiction space odyssey. Oh no, you are on a safari here, live in the Kruger National Park of South Africa, the northeast corner of the world's most beautiful country. We're in 8 million acres of wilderness here, the iconic Kruger National Park, and surrounded to the east by the Limpopo National Park of Mozambique, and to the north by the Gonarazoo National Park of Zimbabwe, together making up the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. It is a joy to have you with us. My name is James Henry. On camera today is David Eastor. David couldn't show you his thumb because he's wrapped up in 37 jackets. It's 15 degrees Celsius, 59 degrees Fahrenheit. We think that's absolutely Baltic. I'm sure most of you watching think that's ridiculous, but it's been a very hot summer, so it's going to take a little time to acclimatise to the cold. On the other vehicle, we have Samuel Chevalier. He is driving somewhere to the south. He's being filmed by the enormous Bryan. In the final control, we've got Rebecca in my ear, and I think it is Geraldine, the Cheesecake Kent, back in the final control, tapping away at the keys, receiving your questions. For the next 3 hours, we're going to be on a live safari. And please do talk to us, hashtag SafariLIVE if you want to talk to us on Twitter, or questions at wildearth.tv if you'd like to talk to us on the email. You can see there is condensation coming out of my mouth because it is so very cold. Brr. I'm not stopped here just simply so that I may waffle at you incessantly. We're just stopping to have a listen. It is the most delightful morning, so I'm going to be quiet for another 20 seconds. And then we're going to move off to see if we can find the leopard that I frightened out of a tree yesterday. So you can hear the mournful call of the grey-headed bushshrike. One or two drongos. The doves have started their songs. There's a little group of long-tailed shrikes or magpie shrikes off to the behind your head, if you like, if you're looking at the screen. They sound like the woodwind. And the francolins all round, just making their very beautiful sort of strident morning calls. They're not beautiful at any other time of the day, but in the morning they're the herald of a new and perfect African dawn. All right, let's head on and see if we can find that leopard that I've chased out of a tree by mistake yesterday. He should be just around the corner with any luck. So, blue butterfly, you want to know who is that leopard in the credits, in the opening credits? Sorry, blue butterfrog. Blue butterfrog. The leopard that goes in the opening credits, I think, is Kunuma, if I'm not mistaken. Kunuma, a 3-and-a-bit-year-old male leopard, 3.5-year-old male leopard just about now, and he hasn't been seen for many months now. He's probably gone independent, but he used to give the vehicles a little bit of a rev every so often. He didn't like it, the cars being too close to him, and he gave Bryan and I a rev once. Bryan, of course, is a brilliant beatboxer, and we were sitting with him. He was eating a kudu, and normally that would mean that you'd be live, but Scott at the time had, I think, two. He had the Anderson male leopard with Tingana in the same sighting. So we were kind of playing second fiddle, and so we were sitting chatting away, as one does, and Bryan got a little bit bored, so he started beatboxing. Well, the leopard was greatly offended by Bryan's beatboxing and took 3 or 4 steps towards us and did precisely like he did there in the opening credits. It was the last time we beatboxed at a leopard. Ginny Hogs, you say you have a feeling something exciting is going to happen today. I'm very pleased that you have that feeling. I'm trying to remain totally neutral on the matter. I find the more I have that feeling, the less seems to happen. So I'm just going to remain entirely neutral and take what comes with a sense of joy and reckless abandon. Maybe that's the wrong term. I can barely turn my head in the scarf, everyone. So if I look like I am, it's exactly what it looks like. I can't believe it's going to get another 10 degrees colder than this as we go into the midwinter, July time, while many of you are enjoying summer, except those of you, of course, in New Zealand or Australia or Fiji. Righty, we're going to turn down this road here, and from here we're going to keep our eyes very closely peeled and drive very slowly. Now, for those of you who weren't with us yesterday, we did have a sight, Bryan, at least Dave and I, of this male leopard coming hurtling out of a tree. We didn't notice him before. We drove right underneath him. He was eating a duiker, and I got too close to him on foot, not realizing, looking for some lion tracks, and he jumped out of the tree and scuttled off across the northern boundary. And he is we think, if it's who we think it is, I think that's him. If it's who we think it is, it's a young male leopard who is not used to vehicles. And because he's not used to vehicles, he's a little skittish around them. And so we're going to approach very slowly. I think that was his tracks disappearing that way there. Let's just quickly go and have a look anyway. The tree's just up here. So we're going to approach painfully slowly from this distance. Turn all the lights off. Someone with the Twitter handle, the bad virus, says that the International Space Station should be flying over here in about the next hour and should be good viewing. Will we be able to see it, the bad virus, with the daylight? Will we be able to see it in the daylight? Apparently it'll be flying over for 3 minutes. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you. The bad virus. This is a very unflattering Twitter handle you've given yourself. It'll be 6:42 p.m. this evening, so that will be perfect. It'll be wonderful to see. All right, now, David, keep your eyes peeled. It's just around here. I'd love to put a little bit of light on the subject, but I think that might frighten him if he's around. So I'm just going to stop here. It's going to be almost invisible to you, but I'm just going to peer around with my binoculars, because if it is this nervous leopard, he probably won't hang around. In the top of that tree there, Dave, on the left-hand side, is where the kill was. It looks to me to be finished. And I don't see a leopard lurking in the boughs of that tree. How very sad.
Is there any of it here?
Can't see any of it. Let's go a bit closer. Let's just quickly look inside the tree here. While we're doing that, let's head across to Sam for his introduction.
Good morning everyone to the morning safari. You have Bryan as a cameraman this morning and it's Sam, and I forgot Elvis the Ellie today. Elvis the Ellie is with James. Sometimes we forget these things, you know, but it's okay. Elvis will be with James and hopefully he'll have a great time. So we at the moment are on the cut line. We're just going towards Twin Dams to see if we can find the male lion that was there last night. But it's very, very cold, and you know, as you know, we went out yesterday and it was freezing, but for some reason this morning it's even colder. My hands are so cold. But as we go into this dip, it's even more cold. So just trying to keep warm where I can. Hopefully this morning we will see anything from So hopefully this morning we can see anything from giraffe, zebra, to even cheetah, which we saw the other morning. So we'll see what happens. Oh, hold on, I can't go to cheetah plains. When you can't go to cheetah plains, only Rusty can, so it will be much harder to find cheetah.
So the leopard is not in the tree and nor is his kill. Now the positive part of that is that, and we must try and be positive of course all the time, the positive part of that is that he clearly was not terrified enough not to come back. But I think he probably heard the car coming, or he finished it during the night. There wasn't much left. And then wandered off. So we'll just check for his tracks briefly around here and then we'll carry on and see what else we can see. No sound of lions calling last night, but the Nkuhumas, I mean, I would imagine they'll be around here somewhere, so maybe we'll find them. They're quite good prospects for the morning. Can't see any leopard tracks. Anyway, let's go and look at Sydney's dam. Many hyena tracks. Joanne, you want to know when the last time Gunuma was seen was and where? I don't actually know, Joanne. I know that he was seen on Cheetah Plains at some stage, along with Quarantine. But I don't actually know when that was. I'm sorry about that. It was some time back. Charlotte, you're in Denmark, which of course is where Rebecca's family comes from, Takfadai. Apparently that means thank you very much in Danish. It's the only Danish I know. Charlotte, you want to know how many leopards we have here? Well, in this area it's pretty easy to say, but in the larger Sabi Sands area it's a bit more difficult. The larger Sabi Sands area probably about 80. In this particular area, the leopards that we see 2 territorial females normally, well, up to 3. In fact, up to 4. Karula being the main one, the 12-year-old female that we view most of the time, and this is her her territory is centered on Juma. Then we have Shadow off to the west in Arathusa, which is another piece of this reserve that we traverse. And she's 9 years old, also with cubs. Karula's got 2 cubs as well. And there's Tundi to the south, who's Shadow's sister, and therefore Karula's daughter, obviously. And then there is Inkanyeni to the east at Cheetah Plains. And we see her, I mean, Sam's seen her, I haven't seen her yet, but she's around there, also with 2 cubs, but she goes into the Kruger quite a lot. So there's the females. Then the males, we've got Tingana. He's the big cheese in the area at the moment. We see him relatively frequently. Just have a quick look at the dam here, see what's going on there. Just see if we can spot a leopard having a little morning coffee. Cold hippo dung tasting coffee, but nevertheless. And then, other than Tingana, there is Mvula, who's a sort of aging male leopard of about 13, and he's coming to the end of his time around here. He doesn't seem to be able to maintain the territory anymore. And then we have Quarantine Kunuma, potentially 3-year-old male leopards born to Karula and Mvula about 3 and a bit years ago. Quarantine still hangs around on cheetah plains to the east of us. Kunuma, like I say, we haven't seen for a long time. There are some guinea fowl. Then there is also potentially the Anderson male, who is a big male leopard territorial to the west of us. And that's about it. That is a grey heron. And in the background, the guinea fowl. I always think that they're very joyful birds to watch. They always look like they are, well, I mean, they're just very comic. They're like little sort of bird-like Charlie Chaplins running around the place. You can see the elephants have been drinking down there heavily from the enormous piles of dung. I hear no sound of leopard at this stage, or lion, just joyful bird song. Very nice. All right, David, I think we'll also go and check out the hyena there. Leopold, you're really stretching my brain this morning. You want to know why I think that the ancient Egyptians held cats in such high esteem? I couldn't begin to tell you, Leopold. David, any ideas? Leopold, I can only think that maybe because of the domesticatability of something like an African wildcat, which they did domesticate, perhaps they created legends around them. I don't think it's unusual for cultures around the world to have created gods and legends around, or reverence around animals that they've domesticated. And therianthropic animals, which are animals that are half human. That's quite common in the mythology of various cultures around the world. I don't know why it develops. Interesting one. I'm so sorry I can't help you with that, but I'd be very interested to know. So I'm just going to quickly check and see if there are any tracks coming across the road here of the lions or the leopard. And Dave's going to keep an eye out for the leopard all around us. Megan in Ottawa, you haven't been watching for 4 drives. Well, I mean, that's very remiss of you. Would you say you need a catch-up of animals? Well, I would love to see animals too. We'll see if they are confiding enough to acquiesce to our request. That leopard is around here, I'm telling you. I don't see his tracks crossing anywhere. But he's still a bit shy, obviously. Anyway, it was wonderful to see him on foot. That's his tree over there. Right, let's go back to Sam. I think his signal has sorted itself out.
So, we have just found some of the lion tracks that are now heading in a southerly direction on this road. You can see them just over there. I don't know if you're able to see that. Let me get in a better position. There we go. You can see that lion track quite clearly there. So it looks like it's heading in a southerly direction. And what we're going to do is we're going to follow those tracks, because last night when you saw them, or saw him, one of the Birmingham boys, he was at Chile Dam. So I was just on the way there, and I've just found the tracks heading out of here. I think I should follow them and just see what direction they go in, and then if I lose tracks, just go back to where they last saw him last night. But I think he could have headed off into another property. Just want to see where maybe he goes. I didn't manage to see the Birmingham Mail last night. I would love to have seen it. We were with the Nkuhumas last night, myself and Bryan, and they got up and they headed in an easterly direction towards Buffelshoek Dam. So they're actually on the cut line there somewhere. So the lines are still on our property. I just want to see if I can find this mail line. It looks like we've lost track of them now. We've lost track of them. We must have headed off into the drainage line. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into that drainage and see if we can find that big male. Just going to check quickly if there are no tracks here. Dara from Ohio would like to know, do you find it quite difficult to sleep in the bush because of all the animals here? Dara, I have no problem. You know, you said as much like listening to rain. Yeah, it's very similar to that, Dara. I mean, I'm a little bit deaf in this ear, so I don't hear much, and I always sleep on my right ear, so I don't hear anything anyway when it's nighttime. I don't even hear the mosquitoes near my face, so sometimes I wake up with mosquito bites all over me, or all over my face, just because I couldn't even hear them. So when I sleep very, very deeply. It's not nice when I wake up with all those mosquito bites, though, I must tell you. So let's go out into the drainage line quickly and see if we can find this male lion. It looks like his tracks head here, but then he might have turned off towards that drainage line. That's the best thing, Dara, to hear in the bush. At least the one thing that I enjoy the most is the sound of a lion roaring. And there's the sun, the little bit of reddish tinge to the sky that's beginning to warm up our day. So hopefully that's going to be an incredible sunrise, because I do really need some sun. It's freezing down here. It's incredible how the temperature changes from this time in the morning where I've got jackets on to a freezing, well, to a much warmer condition where I'm just wearing a t-shirt and shorts in a couple of hours. So there's tracks. Are there any tracks here? Oh, Micah Delta has made a comment saying that the swallows have arrived in the Netherlands. Well, that's very cool. I know what I find so fascinating about swallows and most birds is how they're able to travel those far distances. Ooh, James is with the hyena. I'll come back to that when we get back. See you just now.
There's a hyena pulling down a tree. There are 3 hyenas under the car. There's one sleeping pleasantly off to the side. I'm not sure why you can't hear us. Any idea? Why? These hyenas are so close to us that I can actually smell them. That's my head there. You don't smell so fly. You don't? Quite niffy. Rebecca, do you copy us? How is that? They've moved now behind David. Not sure why we've gone quiet, everybody. Look at this little chap here. Playing on the tree. The others are so close, you can't see them. Here he comes as well. They're all going to get so close that we've got nothing to look at. Sorry about this. The hyenas are here, of course. They're just all basically underneath the car.
Stations, we have tracks of the male lion by Chiller Dams at the Hyena.
They are chewing. Chewing the... I'll take a picture for you, I'll show you. They are now chewing the car, everybody. You want to have a look? Oh, dear. Again? That's what the hyenas are doing. There's one, at least we can look now. Now also coming too close for us to even film. Now they're doing this, of course, just because it's entertaining, in the same way that a puppy would chew whatever it can find. Hello? Excuse me. They really do like the tires. Oh, the smell is... how would you describe it? Can you smell it? It's not really foul, but it's not a pleasant smell. It kind of gets into your nose, and it's almost sickly sweet. And I think that's strange. It's the first time I've noticed it. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that it's so cool. And where Sam has got his elephant, I have got this rather impressive hawk moth, which is now doing yoga. Look at that. Isn't he amazing? Sorry, I would love to show you the hyenas, everybody, but unfortunately they're basically under the car. Hello. Can you even see this one, Dave? And he does look a bit like a carpenter of winter jersey. Look at his special eyes that he's got behind the feelers, behind his antenna. And those special eyes will make predators think that he's I don't know, maybe a worm or a poisonous grub. That orange and black and white is very characteristic of sort of toxic animals. There we have. We now at least have a view of some hyenas over there. So let's just tell you about them. I'm not sure how many of you have seen these chaps before. We have two age groups of little cubs this size. You can see very clearly there. Two of them born in December and two of them born in January and one of them born in November. And a wonderful comment from Pinchy Winer's Hat. And Pinchy Winer's Hat, he said, it's all fun and games until you get a puncture. Absolutely. Then it's not fun and games at all. Those are the two Januaries biting each other now. And it looks like the two Novembers, at least the two Decembers, gone back under the car. And I think that's November there. It's just wonderful. Eh? Classic. Excuse me. These tires are so thick, they're ideal for a hyena to be chewing. And they're moving on to the wood now of that combretum tree. And I think the female here is Madam, the matriarch, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, I can't really move at the moment because there are one or two still underneath the tyre. This is such a joy. And saying hi to Mum. She's the mother of the January ones, the littlest ones here. clumping you can hear is their teeth basically pulling on the rubber of the car, making no indent. You might just be able to hear thunk, 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 thunk. It's difficult to get out of the way here. There you can see one. No, you can't. That's the microphone. It's very nice having them this close, but it's not so nice that we can't actually view them. There's one. Hello. Come on, stay in shot. Go on. Go on. Move out. There we go. And the other thing I managed to notice the other day, everyone, was the fact that I can still tell, with the January ones, I can still tell which one, the December one, sorry, which one is D1, which one was D2. And D1 has that slightly whitish at least hind left foot. And I thought that would not disappear, but it is almost invisible. You can just see it. David, this hyena is basically going to climb onto the car now. It's climbing onto the bull bar there. It's so amazing how they lose interest in the vehicle completely. Once they're sort of 5 or 6 months old, they don't care anymore. A leopard? An interesting one from you. You say, why do I think some species have a matriarch and some have a patriarch? Which do I think we should have? Well, I think I can get myself into quite a lot of trouble answering that question. 50% of viewers will disagree with me and 50% will agree with me. First of all, in a hyena, it's an adaptation that has worked for this species. There's no reason that it shouldn't have, adapted the other way around. But in this particular species, and this is a very unusual species, the females are dominant over the males. Now, that's not the same in all matriarchal societies. So in an elephant society, which is matriarchal, it's not a question of the females being dominant over the males at all. They just lead the herd. The males are independent and live on their own. In a hyena clan, the females are completely dominant, which means that all males in the clan are subordinate to the females. They are smaller, and they are, if they go to a kill site, they will eat after the females eat, because the females are bigger. Now, this is because of an increase in testosterone in the females. So this is a unique situation. It's much more, it's not the same as saying an elephant herd is matriarchal. It doesn't work like that, because the females are much smaller in elephants than they are in hyenas. As to why does it work, I think it's one of those quirks of evolution where, by chance happened, and so we have a situation where the female is dominant, and it works very well for the clan and for the species. It also means that the dominant ones, the big ones, are always around to protect the youngsters. Look at that big bone. She's taking it off to the other vehicle around the corner there. We'll hear the machine gun fire of lenses very soon. I think what you'll find is that, it is advantageous because there's always protection here for the youngsters. Whereas if the males are the big ones, and their sole use is to mate, which is what happens with most mammal species, well, then they're not always around to protect the babies, even though they have the great size. The other thing it does is protect against infanticide. So we know that one of the major killers of young mammals probably from platypuses all the way up to gorillas and even human beings in some societies, is infanticide from males who kill unrelated youngsters. This does not happen in hyenas because the females are so much bigger that they completely dominate the males. Now, should humans be run by matriarchal societies? Well, I think we could probably certainly would probably have a slightly more peaceful world. Something's going on here. I think it's just another vehicle coming. So Leopold, I mean, there certainly is a lot of evidence that in societies before the advent of organized religion, women played a far greater role in setting policy and sort of political affairs, and that there's a large school of thought that says that organized religion in humanity was one of the major causes of the disempowerment and disenfranchisement of women. So I think you'll find that human society is actually very well adapted to female and leadership, and one struggles to see how the nuclear age would have come about had the women been in charge. It's that thing called testosterone. It's a nasty hormone. It builds ego, it is violent, and not necessarily that beneficial. Laura, you want to know how strong the jaws of the cubs are compared with the adults. Laura, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to guess that, that hyena there that we're looking at can probably deliver a bite strength of about 800 pounds per square inch, which is a massive, massive pressure. And I'm going to say that the youngsters are proportionately the same. You can see that their proportions are almost exactly the same as the adults. It might actually be proportionately slightly more because they have got slightly bigger heads than they do bodies. Afshin. Mijan. How long again are they? Farm. Man. And farm gonna timisla and the hands. Lokumila jiga. Okay. We're just in the way of taxon here. I'm going to try and move forward a little bit. Loko ndia pambele gatsongo te tagupfun. All right. I'm just going to sneak a little bit forward. Starting the engine will probably result in a great spray of hyenas running all over the place. Forward. There we go. You can see the little ones playing there. And they've already got bored with us. And like I was saying, at about 6 or 7 months, they will pay no attention to the vehicle anymore at all. It's only when they're little like this they find it entertaining. They are so sweet. What a very good question from Megan in Ottawa. Why would we let a hyena touch the car and not an elephant? Well, from a purely practical point of view, Megan, because an elephant could do some serious damage and that hyena can't. I suppose in principle, the principle is that's beautiful, David. Well done. Very artistic. In principle, there is no real difference. If we're not going to let one animal touch the vehicle, why would we let another? But I think with the hyenas, there is no danger posed by allowing it to happen. There's no danger posed by it. They don't necessarily, they lose interest as adults. So the danger, what you don't want with an animal that becomes habituated to you, is for it to become then unafraid as it becomes an adult. And that just doesn't happen with the hyenas. So I don't think there's an ethical problem with it. practically, like I say, with an elephant. Well, an elephant's going to tip you over and do you some damage. These guys are also playing. A big adult bull elephant is testing you much more than he is playing. But it's a good question, Megan, and certainly a nice one for us to investigate and think about. And I mean, I could just tap the car every so often when they come near. They'd eventually get used to that noise too, and they'd just keep coming. Great question from Andrew in London. You're up early, Andrew. Andrew, we were discussing the matriarchal nature of a hyena clan and the dominance of females over males. And you want to know if it is perhaps the females that initiate mating because of this. Here comes one of the bone there. Or if it is still the males that do the mating, the initiating of mating. Interestingly, it seems to work the same way as it does in most mammals, where it's the males that initiate mating. Females don't tend to initiate it. Oh, here's June. I think this is young June. Hi. That's nice to see him. Hasn't got a very manly name, but I think that's June. I might be wrong. Some of our hyena experts will tell us. But absolutely, Andrew, it is the males that initiate. She will come into estrus, and then the males will kind of do what males all over the world do, and that is attempt to seduce her with, with I don't know what promises they make to each other, but it is a very sort of typical mammalian mating system. I'll now take another world-class photograph. Kyle McFetters, a nice question from you about when these cubs are going to be taken to a kill. Kyle, they normally start moving with the clan at about 8 months. Stunning photograph. Look at that, eh? Oh, action stations. Those guys behind me are going to be so jealous with their 600mm lenses. So Kyle, they start moving with the hyena, with the clan at about 8 months. This is wonderful, hey? I might even try a video. It's going to be an interesting video. That's amazing. So you can see, as soon as the engine starts, they're still a little bit nervous. I think Tex is going to just try and get into a better position. Anna Marie, I'm afraid I can't answer your question, but it's an interesting one. You want to know about the parvovirus. The parvovirus, you say, have I ever heard of wild dogs or hyenas getting the parvovirus? I have not heard of wild dogs or hyenas getting the parvovirus. Just hold on 1 second here. Station approaching hyena den. No problem, Abel, but there are 3, I'm afraid. So parvovirus, I don't know anything about the parvovirus, I'm afraid. Can somebody please tell me about it. That would be interesting. Just, Dave, if you get in on the matriarch there, if you don't mind, quickly, she's cleaning, which is either the wound or a really nice example of her anal gland. And I mean, I know to use the word nice example and anal gland in the same sentence is perhaps a little disgusting. But we read about the anal gland of the hyenas quite often. And they use it to mark territory all the time. And it's almost impossible to see, though. And I think she was just displaying it there. I think it's that smell that I was smelling, that kind of sickly, sweet, dirty smell. I think that's what comes out of the anal gland. This is fantastic. Anywhere to look. Listen, listen. This is greeting. Let's just go to the greeting there, Dave. Kathy, I'm going to answer your question. It's a lovely one from Tennessee, all the way from Tennessee. You want to know if this is playing or dominance behavior. The last time you saw kids playing, or young boys playing, I think what you'll find is that although it is definitely largely play behavior, there is an element of dominance behavior amongst it as well. And that's what's going on here. But definitely, there's a lot of dominance behavior going on. This is fantastic. So June, for example, who's the largest one there playing with them, June is born to a subordinate female. And so while she's playing, or he, I mean, I keep saying he's a he, he's playing with the youngsters there. You can see, look how he's adopted a subordinate position there with his backside to the ground. And the youngsters are very confident around him. That's because he's A, a male, and B, he's subdominant. He's born to a subdominant female. The smallest cubs here belong to the matriarch. And they are very confident, and it was noticeable as they were born that they were going to be more confident than the others. And in all the way from the Bahamas, it's lovely here to hear from you, Robin. I've forgotten your question, Robin. 1 second, it'll come back to me. Ah, yes, how many clans of hyenas do we have here? Robin, we've only got one clan of hyenas at Djuma, but there's another huge one at Arathusa of 50. Listen. That's a lovely call of the African dawn. I like the question about the dominance is an interesting one, and the play behavior and whether this is dominance behavior. Even amongst siblings, you have the same thing, and I think you have it amongst many different kinds of mammals. Certainly amongst wild dog packs, you see it in the puppies immediately. All of that playing that they do eventually sets who's going to be the alpha and who will be the omega dogs. And Crystal H, you want to know which hyena den we're at. We're at the hyena den known as the Aubrey's Road den, which is obviously on Aubrey's Road. I think that they're their least salubrious den. I think they've got nicer looking ones than this. They've got two nicer looking ones. But this is a good winter den, I suppose, because they get full sun. There's not too much shade here, though. And I think it's a strange one for them to be at, because it is basically on a path between Sydney's Dam and Djuma Dam, which means that there is often often sort of activity of lions and other predators coming through this area, elephants. With that bone. That bone has been here. I've seen that bone here at least 4 or 5 times. So I don't think there's any more marrow left in it, but it will eventually be crushed up and eaten completely. That's wonderful. Siberia, a very good question. You want to know about punishment in hyena clans. Will higher-ranking females punish lower-ranking females for sort of indiscretions and attacks? Yes, absolutely. The dominance hierarchy is maintained in two ways. The first way is through violence, and the other is through genetics. So the dominance hierarchy amongst many hyenas, well, most hyenas, is maintained through hereditary hereditary rank. So although June here, who's the big one that you can see there, is born to a low-ranking female, and she's larger than the others, and she could most certainly sort of physically dominate all the other cubs around here, she doesn't, because she's not psychologically imbued with the sense of dominance. And that is not the same case for the youngsters, the January babies who are born to the matriarch. They are immediately very, very confident indeed. Just amazing stuff. I think they're probably going to disappear down into the den fairly soon, but let's spend a little bit more time here. I think it's worth it. The photographers are just swapping sides. They're going to be so jealous when they see my pictures. Very confused by all the movement. David, do you want to see my brilliant picture? Yes. There's the most brilliant one that I took. You can hear them making a noise there. I'm not sure what they're doing. They're just over the top there. They're probably trying to suckle the January youngsters. I can just hear them yelling. If you go just over the top of the dash here, you'll just see some movement there. Up at the top of my finger. There. Isn't that a lovely sound? Now, apparently there are a few of you saying that June is a female. Now, the last time I checked, June had a very pinched, well, not to put too fine a point on it, pinched penis at the end. So you know that the females have got a pseudo-penis and the males a penis. And the males is very, sorry, it's not pinched. Yes, it was pinched. And the males are very pinched on the end and the females are not. And I was pretty sure that she had a pinched one, but I could be wrong. But I seem to remember that was him being a male. I don't know where to move these days, David. But please, if I am wrong, I do apologize, and let me know why you think June is a female. David, just quickly, before we go back to the hyenas, if you point the camera straight over the top of my finger, there's a tropical tent web spider. Look at this. Look at that incredible lattice work. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at the incredible lattice work. That's a tropical tent web spider, everyone, and while the mayhem of the hyena den goes on all around us, these little spiders carry on with their lives. There's one there on the den there, squealing away. Oh, Carrie, you want to know what the mortality rate of hyena cubs is, and is it the same as the leopards? I think you'll find that it's probably lower than the leopards, but they have fewer cubs, so it's 1 or 2 cubs normally, so the survival rate will be higher, and they also engage quite often in siblicide, where the most dominant female cub will kill the other cubs, especially if she's born to a higher ranking female. So I think the reason the population doesn't sort of explode in this, even though they have a higher survival rate than leopards and lions, is because, well, A, they kill each other, and B, they have fewer cubs. They invest more energy into each cub. I've got another moth here. 2 friends together. Richard, while we look at these, we can't actually see any of the hyenas at the moment, so let's just look at these moths, beautiful as they are, sitting in the golden sunlight. Richard, you want to know what will happen if the matriarch dies? Well, who will take over from her if there's no sort of suitable offspring? If there's an adult female offspring, she will normally take over. As far as I'm aware, I don't think that it's a rule set in stone. I think you might find that there would be some conflict between it, as there would in human society, between the sort of next ranking female, the next oldest ranking female. But I think size and birth allowing, the oldest daughter of the matriarch would probably then take over. Isn't that incredible? Look at his little eyes. That is so cool. I'm just going to turn this fellow around. I think he's on his last legs. And just look at his eyes. Isn't that amazing? Look at the fur on his back. I think he's a hawk moth. They don't live for very long, everyone. Those hairs are actually scales. They look like hair, but they're not hair. And that's what comes off in your hands if you catch a moth. Well, maybe we'll have to bury him next to Buffy. What do you think, Dave? That's a very nice one from Robin. Thank you. You say that the cats have been revered since ancient times, largely for their role in protecting human beings from vermin like rats and mice. And without the protection of cats, I suppose those grain stores, which basically defined early civilization and allowed for specialization and therefore technology, so the big grain stores would have been protected by cats, and perhaps that's why they've been revered. Lovely stuff. Thank you, Rob, all the way from the Bahamas. Let's head across to Sam and see if he's still alive.
We haven't seen you for a while. I hope the hyenas were fantastic. I heard they were playing and giving you guys a whole bunch of joy. Myself, Bryan, and the fam have been missioning around the reserve. It's very, very quiet this morning, and I think that's because everything is quite cold. We've just started seeing some of the birds jumping out of the trees, and it's getting a little bit more active around here. But we were all the way in down by Twin Dams, which is quite far away from here, and we were looking for that male lion, and we followed tracks to the best, to the best that we could, and then we noticed that it was heading off in another direction towards another property. So male lioness left us. We looked everywhere to see if we could find him. And now we are heading towards Buffelshoek Dam to see if we can locate those lionesses that we had last night. So the last time they were seen was at about quarter past 7 last night. Gentleman's Archive, who's a new viewer. Welcome to SafariLIVE. SafariLIVE, you're asking whether we do this the whole day. So the question is, well, the answer is that we do 2 live safaris with presenters and cameramen, that we go out twice a day. So in the morning from 6 o'clock until 9 o'clock, then we go out in the mornings, and then in the afternoons we go out at 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the evening from South African time, Central African time. So I think it would be quite different on your times. I'll have to update you on what your times are. And you'll also be able to see the Djuma dam cam during other times. So if we're not on drive with the presenters and the cameraman, we have got a Djuma cam, which is basically a camera that is set up by a watering hole, and it's on all the time. So when we're not on drive, you can see during the day what animals might be coming towards the watering hole, or if there's a leopard drinking, a lion roaring, like we had 2 nights ago where someone saw that at 2 in the morning, wherever they were in the world. So if you're not on live safari with us, you can sit at the watering hole and see what comes there. And you can also partake in being a zoomie, which means that you can control the camera and see what's actually there and zoom up to it and have a good look at it. So that is the safari that we have got going here, Gentleman's Archive. And welcome. We're looking at the moment for some lionesses to see if they are around somewhere. And the female lioness that was very heavily pregnant was in this area somewhere. So we're also just paying attention to see maybe if there's some tracks. You know, yes, the other day we saw some tracks that were at the watering hole, which meant that she's probably in the drainage line somewhere and has come out to drink some water and then gone back to her cubs somewhere in that drainage line. So the best interaction that we have, or the best chance that we have of seeing her, is when she comes out and has a little sip of water to drink. But who knows, we could also be really, really lucky. Danita would like to know, are there a number of plants like in this area that are protected by conservation laws, and what are they? Well, Danita, I'm very, very new to this area at Djuma Game Reserve, but I do know that there are a few trees that we shouldn't drive over, or not drive over, just protect in the best way possible, and that's the jackalberry tree. Just forgotten its scientific name. Mespiliformis is the second part of the scientific name. I know that jackalberry is a very, very important tree, but we do have a few trees. I'm not sure particularly what they are. I try my best not to drive over or hit and disturb any of the trees here that are indigenous to this part. Another important tree would also be the torchwood, which is an incredible tree, beautiful, very fluted kind of trunk, not trunk, bark. Hopefully we'll see one, I can show you it. Scientific name for that one is Balanites. So we'll see if we can find the Balanites torchwood. Do you know if any of them, Bryan, that are protected?
Not really, no.
No. I think the 3 most important ones that I know of are the torchwood. The marula tree is also an important tree. But we're coming towards the watering hole now. So let's see if we can see anything around here. Potentially the lioness is stalking away from her drink, the watering hole, who knows? This is where we last saw it, just down in this drainage. I know the lionesses, the other ones, the other four that we were with last night, came in this direction, and I wonder if they actually met up with the other lioness that could potentially be giving birth, and that's Spotty Nose. So we're at Buffelshoek watering hole now, and this in front of us here is a bateleur tree. It's a beautiful, beautiful tree. It's one of my favorite trees out here in the bush. You can see the fluted block. And the seed pods that come off this tree, that fall down here, it almost looks like a nut, almost. And the elephants come and sometimes shake the tree, and all these things fall down. And the elephants will eat them just to help their stomachs. It's almost like a little bit of medicine for elephants that they use to get rid of some of the parasites or problems that they're having in their stomach. That is Buffelshoek, and it seems to be exceptionally quiet this morning. There's not even a hippo. So that might mean that there's a hippo out of water, which we'll pay attention for to see if we can see. But, okay, so it's on the northern side. Okay, the lionesses were last seen on the northern side of this dam. So we are now on the southern side. So we're going to make our way to the southern side of the dam and see if we can find any tracks of the lionesses. They could have potentially moved off into Buffelshoek. But let's see if we can go and find them. This tree over here is an old knobthorn tree. So it's died, but it brings the most stunning shapes and designs when it dies like this. And it probably would have died by being ring-barked by a number of elephants. And now that tree will provide a home for many different types of insects and birds that will nest in there, from hornbills to barbets. There's another dead one just in front of us here now. There's an alive one right next to it. That's another. So to the left of this one is an alive knobthorn. And the giraffe love to eat this tree. Giraffe love this tree. And when you look up at that pattern, as you look down, or when you look up at it, it brings that kind of shape that you'll see in deltas and river systems, how you have that kind of decentralized look, and you'll find that within your veins in your body, and you'll find it in many different patterns in life. And that's, if you have a look at Murray's law. Murray's law is based on how, you know, the flow of least resistance. So everything that, when a delta starts, the water will flow and then it'll split at one point. So it'll flow and split, and then on that split, it'll split again. And that is the best way in which water flows. So it's interesting, you'll find that design in trees and root systems and your body. So this is exactly where the lioness was found, the heavily pregnant one. And I keep coming back here just because it would just be so fascinating to see if we could find her again. So Curtis would like to know, because it's quite cold now, does that mean we're going to see less animals? Well, Curtis, yes, it's going to definitely make a difference. It's very cold at the moment, and we noticed for a whole hour that we didn't see anything. So a lot of animals will be curled up, still in their burrows. A lot of the smaller animals, but you'll mainly still find some of the bigger animals like giraffe and elephant will still be walking around. It doesn't really matter if it's cold. It just becomes a little bit more difficult to find them in the early mornings. But as the sun comes out, it'll get easier. Felicity's asking, where are the vultures? Don't they like cold weather? Well, the vultures will be not in the sky at the moment because they actually travel. I mean, the best way of travel is through heat thermals in the sky. So there's a whole bunch of heat that's rising in different parts, and they use these thermals to rise up them as the heat of the day begins. Okay, so the lines were seen on this fire break. So we're going to drive the fire break and see if we can find any tracks of the lionesses. So vultures go up heat thermals, and as they rise up those heat thermals, they then have the opportunity to look into the distance and see if there's anything that they may scavenge on. So it's still a little bit cold for vultures at the moment to see them up in the high skies. All right, let's go down into this thicket. Hold on to your seats. The lionesses could very well be anywhere here. Henry would like to know what is Rewild on Facebook. So I started a page, Rewild, just because, I mean, I don't use Facebook a lot. So I just thought I would bring a social media platform where I can talk about the things that I'm interested in and share them with you. And then also just have discussions, and if there was any IDs of hyenas and IDing of Birmingham boys, that we can learn a little bit more about it. So why it's called Rewild is because I'm fascinating in the rewilding of both human nature with ourselves, how do we rewild our way of seeing, and also how do we actually rewild ecosystems. And it actually comes from a guy called George Monbiot, who I studied my master's last year in ecological design, and I studied how we could bring wilderness back into our lives, not only in education, but through the environment itself, and how that would bring a lot to children, and how that would bring a lot to our own lives, and how ecological restoration is equally important as education. So I'm very, very fascinated by that sort of subject and how it might influence us now. Because I do think that we need to rewild our way of seeing and start to see diversity in a lot of nature in the way in which we are educated. So we're looking around to see if we can find these lionesses. Just on that topic though, what's also fascinating about rewilding is the whole concept of trophic cascades and the way in which a predator, much like the lion that we're looking for at the moment, influences the landscape and how it helps regulate the ecosystem. We sometimes don't realize how the land is intimately connected to the predator. And if it wasn't for the predator, then you would have a number of bulk grazers such as zebra and buffalo that would eat all the grasses, and that would then in turn have an ecological impact on the land, where it would start to destroy the soils because there would be a lot of runoff. And so we don't realize how important that lion is for regulating the herbivores that are on this land. Whoa! It's had a little moth or a butterfly that decided to join us on our tracking expedition for the lionesses. Just while we travel through this area and see if we can locate on those female lionesses, let's go and see how James is doing. something about his dashboard. I'm not sure what that was.
We're just heading towards Galago Waterhole, everybody, which is a potential position for those lionesses to be at, but I don't know that they came down here. I didn't see any tracks of theirs. I think they've gone into the far west, probably to some Bambalai. There's nothing going on here at Galago Waterhole, so we'll just issue sitting around here for a while. I've still got this. I probably hit that blasted rock 786 times. Is it a stump? Where is it? There it is, everyone. Every time I go around this corner, I hit that thing, and I'm in mid-conversation, and it jars my spine up into my skull. It makes me very cross, David. It makes me so cross, it does. Okay, now. So, a question from, I think it's Bethton Reese. Is that right, Rebecca? Ah, Bethton Reese. You say you watched my video blog about the exercise. I was doing some running out here, and you say it didn't look like I was concerned about the animals. Well, I'd love to say that's because I'm such a superb athlete that no animal would think about having a go at me and that I'm so incredibly fast. But I can't say that, so I won't. Bethton, what we do is, you've got to be careful, obviously, but the running place it's on quarantine clearings. We run on quarantine clearings. As long as you check the area first and make sure that there's nothing around, then it's absolutely fine. And I mean, in the middle of the day, it's highly unlikely that animals will be moving around too much. So it's relatively safe to go running there, and probably safer than running on a road in a city, for example. And you do need to, I mean, I find some people don't, Brentley Smith being one of them. Some people, I find the need to do exercise just to kind of clear the mind a bit. So that's what I do every so often. And there are a few others in the camp who do the same thing, and there are a number who don't. They clear their minds in other ways. They read a book, or they, I don't know, they read articles and things like that. Rebecca is just suggesting that we should have an inter-camp athletics day. I think that would be quite amusing. Rebecca, what event would you be doing? High jump, she says. And the three-legged race. Oh, now here's a treat, everybody. Look at that. Dave, you see what I'm looking at?
Don't?
You see the fresh patty?
Yes.
Fresh patty. Now, everyone, I want you to just appreciate the amazing sense of satisfaction of driving a wheel through the middle of a fresh patty. It's like taking all the bubble wrap in the world and squishing it and popping it at the same time. It's the same kind of feeling. Here we go. Oh yeah. It's so good. I don't know why it's so satisfying, but it really is. Righty, let's just go around to the Juma Dam. Let's see if there are any beefies coming out there, perhaps with the Nguhuma pride attached to their bottoms. I think the Nguhumas have been slightly low on buffalo meat of late, and that's because they're not often helped by the males. And so I wonder if the reason we don't see them eating very often is, I mean, I think the last time we saw them kill was a young zebra. I think you'll find that often we're not seeing them killed because they eat lots of impala. Sandy, an interesting question here about the... hang on a second. Let me just get through this very irksome period of my life. Okay, we're through. Sandy, you are asking about what Rebecca terms dagga boys. That is something entirely different. It's a dagga boy. And daga is the word for mud, and you say, why is it that I keep referring to them as old, and surely they would be taken out by the lions? Well, I think that there's an interesting evolutionary reason for the dagga boys staying away from the herd. One is that I think they probably join up with the herds and they do mate. I don't think they're as old and decrepit and useless as we often make them out to be. And so they're just a bit like elephant bulls. Elephant bulls just choose not to spend the time with the herd because the herd moves much greater distances. Obviously, there is the constant attention of the children to worry about, and the old boys just don't want to worry about that thing. The other evolutionary reason, I think, is that it draws attention away from the herds. So if you do have this sort of sink, if you like, of old and decrepit bulls, what it does is that it attracts perhaps the attention of the lions away from the big herds where the youngsters are living, and perhaps that protects them. And I think if you looked at the overall buffalo population and the number that were eaten by lions, I think you'll find that the number of youngsters eaten would go up substantially if the number of dagga boys were to reduce. So that would be my guess. Let's go round to where that lion was yesterday. I know Sam has been around there. I don't know how much time he spent around there though. Let's go and check if we can't find his tracks somewhere. Lots of elephant tracks around the place at the moment, but I don't seem to be able to find any elephants. Right, so it goes. It's turned into another gorgeous morning. Still relatively cold. Probably about 17 or 18 degrees Celsius. Heidi, you say, I just explained why it is that so many other animals like to roll in each other's dung. I think it's like the bubble wrap thing. It could well be. It's one of the most satisfying things you can do. Drive through a fresh buffalo patty. If you live in a rural area somewhere and there's a dairy farm nearby, do yourself a favour. Go and try it out. I'm sure a cow pat would work just as successfully. Jen B, you say you grew up on a farm, and when it was a very cold and chilly morning, you would run around barefoot and you'd find a fresh cow pat to jump into and warm your feet. Well, Jen B, I think that's perfectly valid. I'm not sure I would try the same thing out here, but I hope it warmed your feet on the farm. David just went green. Let's see around here. Elephant one's not so satisfying, especially on this car. You'll feel the bump. Here we go. See, that's bump. Elephant dung. Yeah. Oh. Franklin lurking in that bush about to ambush us. Just going to go up to the top here. There are some very fresh elephant tracks. Gag, you want me to go and dig up an ant nest if I can't find anything large? Gag, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think it's very nice for the ants. But certainly if we can find a termite mound that's open, I'll show you some termites. They like to open up on a cool morning like this, and we often warm our hands at the steam. This is a big bull elephant that's walked down this road. I'll show you his tracks now, if we get them in the sun. Not sure when he came down here. I would be fascinated to know where that big male lion went from last night, though. Plenty of baboon tracks. I know there were baboons yesterday at the Juma Dam camp, which I think is really special. Not sort of invading your personal space, which I'm sure, as Sam has told you, they do regularly in Cape Town, for example. Alright, let's go down this road here and see if we can't find that lion. That's just an odd-shaped branch in a tree, I think, as opposed to a leopard or something a leopard has stashed. Yes, it is an odd-shaped branch, under which I've probably driven 100 times. This month, of course, will mark a year since I've been at WildEarth, everyone. And so the fact that I don't know that particular branch completely by heart by now is slightly embarrassing. Going to turn off here and let's roll down the hill, get a couple of ideas of the bird calls. Ooh. Dave, in the middle of this bush in front of us here, there's a little flittering bird. It's gone now, wait. That was a little sunbird. One sec. Did you see it?
Well, you came across frame.
Almost impossible to see. I just thought with this camera might be worthwhile. Looked like a little sunbird in this scraggly, horrible bush here with no leaves on it. Yeah, that's it. Let's just see if there's anything in there. No, nothing. While we look for that bird, Andy, you want to know about edible fungi. Do we get any here? We do. I've never eaten any, but there are a few different species of fungus here that we can eat. Some mushrooms and some bracket fungus. But there are also some very, very dangerous ones. And so without the help of a mushroom expert, I would be very reticent to go harvesting mushrooms. There was an explosion of different fungus at the end of that late rain that we had. Listen to all the doves. Just as it starts to warm, there's a woodpecker going tick, 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 tick. Crested barbet. Oh, there is something in there, isn't there, David? There it is. Is it a butterfly? It is a... Oh, it's not. It's a melba finch. David, you've just spotted an unbelievable bird. It is a melba finch or green-winged pateleur. That's fantastic. Let's just try and keep the camera on him. Maybe he'll come out. Let me make a slight alarm call. I'm going to do something nasty now, everybody. I'm going to play him his call just to see if we can draw him out. This will be a new one for many of your bird lists. This is fantastic. Pateleur. Is he still there, Dave?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Let's play his little call. Don't save details, just play the call. See if he reacts. Now, this is a little bit nasty to do. I'm not convinced of the ethics, but he's such a special bird and we hardly ever see him. This bird is either particularly free of ego or deaf. can't believe he's not reacting at all. Let's just give him 1 more minute, everybody, to show his face, because he really, I promise you, it'll be worth it. He's got lovely colours. And just let us know if any of you have got the green-winged pateleur, aka Melba finch, on your bird lists. Oh, another one. It is. It's Mrs. Green-winged pateleur. Look, look, look. They fly off. No, there they are. That's not a green-winged pateleur. David, that's a common waxbill. Also, very unusual here. No wonder it didn't react. Common waxbill, everybody. Sorry about that. Really cool shot of a common waxbill, though. Let me get him out for you. Now, we see the blue waxbill often, but the common waxbill with that little red bandit's mask is not common to see. And this is his call. He still doesn't look particularly panicked, does he? Anyway, that's what he is. Okay, that's enough. Shush. Right, let me show you a picture of him, just in case you didn't get quite the look you were going, and I'll show you the green-winged pateleur as well. Another wonderful word designed for us by the ornithologists, pateleur. What was wrong with waxbill? Okay, there is the green-winged pateleur, or Melba finch, that I was hoping that was. I just saw the red face, and that's immediately what I thought he was, but he's turned out not to be in the slightest. And what he was is that fellow there, the common waxbill. It says very common resident, but they're not, they're not that common, and I haven't seen that. I haven't seen one at Djuma before. So let us know if that is a new one for your bird list. I'd be fascinated to know. Marvellous. Well done, David. Excellent camera work. Not easy going there. No. Good job. A lot of viewers are asking about Brent's tick bite fever. Rebecca, I don't know about Brent's tick bite fever. Safe to say that he's in good hands in Johannesburg. And tick bite fever is really not very serious in South Africa. You take antibiotics for 3 days and you'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. It's not like Lyme's disease that you get in the US, so he's in no mortal danger whatsoever. He'll be absolutely fine. And I'm sure he'll return to work on time. That should be around Sunday. But thank you for your concern. Right, we're just going to pop down here and see what we can find, heading towards where the lion was yesterday. David, I think there's a very large bird in this tree here. There is. He's huge. Well, this is just a piece of tree. It's a piece of tree, isn't it? Never mind, everyone. Here's a nyala. Right there. Let's look at the nyala. Nyala cow or ewe. Now, we're often asked, of course, what is the difference, or how do you know whether to call something a ewe or a cow or a doe? Out here, anything bigger than a nyala is known by bull and cow and calf, and anything smaller than a nyala is known by ewe, ram, and lamb. Did you hear that, David?
Yeah.
It sounded like an elephant cracking a tree. Everybody, if my audio is low, I'm sorry about that. We're not sure what's going on. Nothing's changed out here. So let us know if the audio is low for you. I don't know if you heard that crack, everyone, but it's a big elephant somewhere who's broken off a branch for his breakfast. A lovely, peaceful morning. I was just saying to David as we pulled out of camp, I said, wouldn't it be nice to go and sit in a clearing and wait as the sun came up with a cup of coffee, which is exactly how a morning like this makes one feel. Little herd of nyala, and for some reason people think nyala are not indigenous to this area. They think that they have been introduced, and there's a lot of talk about that, and we've had questions about it, but nyala thrive here. They live on the fringes of the thick bush between the food niche of the kudu and the bushbuck, and they do really well. The stripes. We had a lovely question from a kid yesterday, and they were asking about the stripes on an animal and why they have them. And I think for a nyala, the stripes are there purely for camouflage. Isn't that lovely? James Richard, you want to see some antelope tracks, whatever they happen to be. Certainly I can find you some antelope tracks. They should be all over the place. How accurate I'll be at identifying them, I cannot guarantee. But as long as you promise not to know the difference, I don't suppose it'll matter. And what we'd be looking for a nyala track would be a rounded but small track, probably about half an inch long. Okay, on we go. See if we can find some tracks. All right, let's head across to Sam while we do that and get an update from him, find out how his tracking is going.
We have a new bird to our bird list this morning. It is the white-crested helmet shrike, which is super cool because I've seen them so many times just before the cameras come on, and we finally saw them in picture. And you can see there's more than one there. There's a couple of them, and they live in gregarious groups. So that is the white-crested helmet shrike. And you also get the Rhett's helmet shrike here, but the white-crested is a lot more, it's just a lot more easier to see than the Rhett's. So it forages with erratic movements in small groups for invertebrates in plants and leaf litter. And it has tiny cup nests of grass and bark bound with cobweb. So they used cobweb and old sort of spider webs to build their nests. They're incredible looking bird. You can see that significant yellow eye on that helmet shrike. Even though it's quite far away from us, you can just see that eye there. And the grey and the white crest that is just above its beak there. It looks like it's feeding on something. What it's feeding on? Could be a worm or a... It looks like a worm from this distance. I can't really see it from here. There's one flying right next to it. So they make very kind of loud chattering and whistling calls, often in a chorus. So when they do make a noise, which will be a bit later, hopefully, they start going together, and it's quite a chatter. It's very cool to see this bird eating something on that branch there. There's no ways that I can make up what it... Ooh, there he goes. He's just swallowed it. And those red legs. So when IDing a bird, have a look at the eye and have a look at the legs. We noticed a very yellow eye and some red looking legs. So that is the white-crested helmet shrike. Very exciting. New bird to our bird list. Is that a new one for many people? They're jumping all around here. So, just to give you an update on what we've been doing, we try to look for the female lionesses, but they are nowhere to be seen. Well, we found their tracks that were heading up the main road. Just want to turn this down. They were heading up the road off into another property called Torchwood, which is to the east of us. So the lionesses have crossed, but it was just tracks of one female, but the other females could have been walking in the thickets, so most likely they were together. But we're going to drive in this direction. Hopefully we're coming up to Buffelshoek Dam again, and you know it was empty when we were last there, but there's every chance that a hippo's come back, or buffaloes have come to drink some water, or some elephants have come down to drink now that their morning is starting. And that is a pirate that is formal, a formal pirate. And that is Bryan's thumb. So he's cheering us up this morning with that, you know, that kind of like he's a pirate, but he likes to work hard. So he's a pirate that works hard. There's a beautiful starling. Oh, it's just left now. Don't worry. They fly away as soon as I try and point them out. So it seems that things are starting to wake up and move around. There's a woodpecker right here. It's a cardinal woodpecker. It just left us now. If we stay with it for a couple seconds, hopefully we can see it again. So, Bryan, it was, if you see this broken down stump, and then you follow it to the left, you'll see it in the tree. There it is. It's exactly where it is. So you can see it banging its head against the wood. That is so cool. So that's another bird to our bird list. We'll just have to have a look at it to ID on which one it is. You can see there it's got a nice red top. So I'm just going to go to it in my book and see if we can ID this woodpecker. Notice the features that are on this bird, and then we'll be able to ID it. Do you still see it? It's in that thicket here. So it could very well be the Bennett's woodpecker, because that has a big red strip on its top of its head, but so does the bearded, and so does the cardinal. So we need to actually have a better look at this woodpecker. So I'm going to try and drive a little forward. Is it just in that thicket? You can kind of see it there. He's probably looking for some insects in that broken down knobthorn tree, which is what it looks like from here. Oh, another bird has just flown there. What is that? Is that the brown-crowned chagger? Let's have a look at that tree. All the birds are coming to us this morning. What was that? I didn't even get a good look at that.
Another woodpecker.
Was that also a woodpecker? So that was another woodpecker?
Yep.
Jeepers. I can also hear a black-headed oriole now. So we've had some woodpeckers. We've had white-crested helmet shrike, and now we've got another woodpecker. I just saw something move. Oh, it just moved off. That was very cool. That was very, very cool. I just wanted to switch on and go a little bit forward like this, just in case he might pop its head out again, because that was our first woodpecker that we've seen. Let's keep quiet for a couple seconds. See if those birds might emerge. Oh, there's a common duiker that just ran past in the background. Let's listen to see if we can hear the sound of that woodpecker and the sound of the golden oriole. or the black-headed oriole. So just while we sit here, oh, there he is. Oh, there's the woodpecker. Awesome, he's just come out into frame. It looks like the Bennets from this distance, but we're going to wait for him to come right out. I know James is with a bird of prey, so let's quickly go and see that bird.
There is a very large bateleur eagle, everyone, and I don't know if you heard when we were sitting at our last sighting of the common waxbill, which interestingly has a similar coloured beak to this bird, or just nailed on the head by a drongo. That's a classic. What was I going to say? Yes, they were fighting in the air. I could hear them going quah, 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 at each other. Were the two bateleurs. We found two here. One of them's flown off. And this is the male being unceremoniously attacked by the drongos, which you can see flying up and down over the top of his head. Now, he poses no threat to them. I mean, the chances of a drongo being caught, or any bird being caught on the wing by a bateleur, are so small. I mean, they're just not designed to do that. But all above that bird now, there are hundreds, or not hundreds, tens of starlings. See that, Dave? The entire top of the tree there is being inundated with Burchell starlings and greater blue-eared glossy starlings. Look at them all. Maybe there's some kind of insect explosion in the tree or emergence. The bateleur looks like he's going to move. He's turned to face us. Look at his amazing red face. There's a squirrel alarm calling. I've no doubt at this bird. And as it warms up, he'll think about going off on a foraging mission. He is right around where that, or sitting just above the drainage line where that nyala was killed, or was being eaten yesterday evening by the lion. Can you hear the squirrel going cha 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 cha? This is an incredible view of a bateleur. You won't get this often. And like I say, they're not designed to hawk birds out of the air, nor they're designed to really catch them in trees. I mean, they're largely scavenging birds. They will kill snakes and reptiles and the odd small rodent, but birds are in no danger from them. I'm going to attempt to reverse back slightly so that the tree's not in the way, but he might fly. Good, Dave? Keep going. Sorry. Oh dear. Okay, we'll stop now, Dave, I promise. There we go. Look at his red feet, with his one toe sticking up, as if in kind of admonishment of the squirrel and the birds that are shouting at him. Bob, you want to know which bird is calling in the background? There are a number. The most obvious is a laughing dove going krrr, krrr, krrr. In fact, there are all sorts of birds. Now, there's a dove just underneath him, Dave. If you look carefully, you can see, if you pan down, or tilt down, sorry, to the left a bit. That's it there. That dove is calling. But I wonder, Barbara, you're not hearing the squirrel going And that is a squirrel, an African tree squirrel shouting around here.
James got an ellie behind.
Ooh. That's very nice. Young elephant bull behind us. I'm not going to move just yet. Well spotted, David. Oh, you did, I didn't hear a thing. Let's move back a little bit so we can view this elephant. Oh, he's disappearing through there. Don't go away, fellow. We want to see you. Here he is. I think he'll probably go down into the drainage. Let's go down. He looks a little bit nervous. He's a young bull. Well, youngish. He's sort of a young man. A 25-year-old. Oh, Sam's got a new bird for his list. I'll try and follow up on the elephant.
Another bird to our bird list this morning, everyone. It's a three-banded plover. You can see that by the three distinctive black and white chest bands and the red eye ring, red bill tipped black. So that is the three-banded plover. I'm so excited. In the space of 5 minutes, we've already got 3 different birds to our list. The woodpecker that we saw was a male and a female Bennett's woodpecker, which is awesome to see both that, well, the pair of woodpeckers, and now this banded, or the three-banded plover. So very exciting to get our list going. I know that you are with an elephant with James at the moment, so I'm not going to take you away any longer from that elephant. Enjoy that sighting, and we'll see you just now.
Just going behind a bush there, but let's just wait for him before we decide to move, because I think he's going to come out of the drainage. He's watching us very carefully. You can see him shaking his foot there. And I think he'll go up the road. I think he would have just carried on along the road had we not been in the way. There he goes. Watching us. Now watch as he goes. See if he turns to the left as well and has a look out of his left eye, or if he only looks out of his right. No, just the right. Okay, let's carry on after him. There's a nice clearing just up ahead. He seems to be on a bit of a mission somewhere. I just want to keep my distance a little bit. He's not that comfortable with us. He's starting to walk a little bit faster as we come up behind him. There, he's looking out of his left eye now. Now out of his right. See how it twists like that? Just turns from side to side. Here he goes, looking out of his... No, nothing yet. There, now he's looking at us from the left. He's smelling us, his trunk facing us. There's a fork in the road, we'll get around the front of him. He's a little bit nervous. So although my instinct is to try and drive as quickly as possible so we can get round him, I just want to give him a bit of space to be comfortable with us. Keep the revs as low as possible. Now we can go a little bit quicker. Get into a position where we can see him. He's behind the tree, but I think he's going to come out of it, so let's just wait here. In fact, while he's there, let me just move perspective again. We might get a better view from further up the road. Hold on tight, everyone. There he goes. Debbie Batchelor, you saw that elephant shaking his foot, lifting it up and down like that. You want to know why they do that? It's kind of a classic case of elephant displacement behavior. When they're not feeling that comfortable, they will all sort of shake their feet like that, in the same way that you will fiddle with your necklace or with your bracelet or perhaps with the hem of your shirt when you're in a social situation in which you feel slightly uncomfortable. That's precisely what an elephant does. Here he comes. It's completely silent, but there are other elephants here. You can hear them. That's why he turned to the left like that. He's taking his sweet time, but he's definitely not that comfortable around us. This is kind of where we were going to go anyway, so I think we'll just follow him down the road. So these pans that we're going past have got a lot of glorious mud in them. And the elephant will at some stage today, I imagine, stop at a pan to cover himself in mud as it starts to get a bit hotter. A classic example here of a game path. The elephant's now kind of making larger. He's a big fellow, that, but about 25, like I say, he'll get much bigger. He probably weighs in the region of 5 tons, 5,000 kilograms, 10,000 pounds. There we go, that's better. And at least 9 feet at the shoulder. He's just deciding what we want. He's smelling us, smelling the air. See how shy he is? He doesn't want to face us. And the mud around his eyes is born of the fact that he's been throwing mud on his tears, or sand on his tears. Looks a bit sad, doesn't he, Dave?
It does.
A bit mournful. Oh, did you hear that, everyone? Stop now. The African fish eagle, quintessential sound of Africa. There, we stopped for a bite to eat some leadwood. Leadwood for breakfast. Delicious. I think if I was to guess, I would say he was relaxing with us. He's not quite so nervous anymore. And just kind of getting on with it. He's realized we're not a threat to him. Which is a good thing. You don't want an elephant to think you're a threat to it. It will either run away or run towards you, but that is particularly terrifying out here. my gosh, somebody has changed their Twitter handle to Ach Shame Buffy. As a tribute to the late bee weaver, Buffy the buffalo weaver. Ach Shame Buffy. Well, the oldest elephant that I've ever seen in the park, I don't know, probably 55 years old on his last legs. Well, I mean, I've seen the female probably close to 60, 65 years old. She died shortly after I met her. And, well, yeah, I guess that would be the oldest one that I've seen. I guess you tend to think of the bulls, but, yeah, the cows. I've seen a very old cow who couldn't keep up with her herd anymore, and eventually they kind of left her at the side of the road, side of the river, where she died. Perfectly normally. He's a fantastic bull, this chap. If you're wondering, everybody, ach shame means pity. Pity for you. It's a South Africanism that we say, ach. This is very nice. I'm just absorbing peace from this fellow at the moment. Not sure we're giving him anything, but I'm certainly absorbing a great deal of calm from him. A little bit further forward, there's a little corner up here. You can go round the corner, and he's going towards one of my favourite trees here. Sorry, Dave, let me... Oh no, that's not ideal, but I think he'll come into view. Smelling us. I don't know if you saw, I twitched his trunk towards us there, just giving a scent. And what he'll be smelling, of course, is the scent of, oh, this is very interesting. What he's about to do to this tree, of course, is one of the reasons that elephants are so important for bush encroachment. He's going to pull out that little sapling, I think, or certainly do some serious damage to it while he eats it. But what he'll be smelling, of course, is the vehicle. And the vehicle is a very powerful smelling thing. It smells of brake fluid and automatic transmission fluid and engine oil and petrol and Dave's aftershave. Oh, Natasha, you're in Ontario and you want to know what the worst smell in the bush is. Natasha, the worst smell in the bush is almost unquestionably that of fresh lion dung. Fresh lion dung is really offensive. Take the worst dog poo that you've ever smelt, multiply it by 20, add in an acidic sort of flavour to it, and you get sort of halfway close to the offensiveness of lion dung at a buffalo carcass. Another one from Canada. Megan, you're in Ottawa, and you're worried about why he's crying so much. Why are there so many tears? Are his eyes irritated? I wonder if he doesn't maybe have the same problem that many of us do out here, and that's that there's an incredible amount of dust around at the moment. He's shaking trees to eat them, and I'm sure that dust is just getting into his eyes, and maybe it's irritating him. He could also have spiked his eye or something on a twig or a thorn. That might be something that he's done. Let's wait for him to cross the road here. I don't want to block his way. I don't know if he wants to come down here. I think he does. Or if he wants to go, he might want to go towards Twin Dams or cross the road here. Let's see. He did turn to face us briefly. But he might want to go down the road. I think he's going to walk behind us. and continue on the road. I think he would have continued on the road if we hadn't been here with him. And so now we've turned off the road slightly, and I think he's going to join the road behind us. He's a lovely fellow, he really is. He's a very gentle soul. We'll just wait for him to go past us. Did you see how he dragged his trunk on the ground there?
Mm.
And that's often, we see those drag marks of the trunk. There he goes. I think he'd have carried on straight down the road if we hadn't been here. There we go. He's happy now to be back on the road. I don't know where he's going or what his thought process is. He's definitely going somewhere, definitely. He's either got a water hole in mind or a mud bath in mind or a specific tree that he wants to eat somewhere. Now it seems to me slightly like he's saying, come with me. I don't know if you got that impression at all, Dave, that he kind of stopped a little and... SafariLIVE, I'm afraid I missed your question entirely. I was waffling on. Rebecca, you'll have to give it to me again. Sorry about that. Oh, you want to know if I think that he's been recently booted from his herd? I don't think so. Not that recently. I can hear other elephants off in there. Now, he might just be staying in kind of audio and olfactory contact with them. He's about 20, I'd say between 20 and 25. So, I mean, he's been out of the herd now for probably 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years. But he's in that kind of mid-stage where he's not going to be allowed to mate at this stage. If he comes near an estrus female, there will much more likely be a vaster, bigger bull around. He might mate, but it's unlikely. So he's in that kind of or slightly awkward phase, bachelor phase. And often I think you'll find this elephant will join up with others. His shape is older than his size. I don't know if you know what I mean. He's got the shape of an older bull. He's got that very bowed back. He's got a very rounded forehead. But he's not very big. I mean, he's enormous, but he's not as big as some of them get. Just taking a little shortcut there. Mobile paddy, I don't know exactly. We know, I'll get to exactly what your question is. We know that elephant society is particularly tolerant in comparison with most societies out here. And, you know, we have these situations where animals are removed from the wild and then attempts are often made to rehabilitate them, or cubs of young leopards are raised in captivity, and then attempts are made to reintroduce them to the wild, and they are almost always a disaster. But you say, what about with elephants? Have there been successful programs to introduce them to the wild? And the answer is, I don't really know, but I think that the chances would be pretty good of an successful elephant reintroduction to the wild, simply because they are much more tolerant of each other. And I know that in areas where they have reintroduced elephants, where they've been absent for many years, and those elephants have successfully acclimatized if there has been a sufficient number of older bulls. So, for example, you take a bull like this and you put him into an area like an unpopulated elephant area without the mentorship role provided by older bulls, they can then turn rogue and become, they don't get the discipline they require. The youngsters, if you take a whole herd of elephants, that was in captivity and reintroduced it to an area, I think you'll find that they'd probably be okay. Both because they don't have any natural predators out here, or any obvious natural predators, and B, because they are a family unit, and because they're not territorial, the other elephants in the area are unlikely to try and chase them away. I would love to know where on earth this fellow is going. He's about to cross our southern boundary. All right, well, while we're figuring out where he's going, let's head across to Sam, who's got some impala.
We have some impala this morning, which is fantastic news. You can see there that it's a nice big male impala, and it's got its coat on. So you can see quite a, oh, there's two of them. You can see a dark coloration between the top of the impala and the bottom, and that has been keeping them warm over the night. They just kind of puff that out like a little jacket to keep warm over the night. And then there's a few here. So this is a bachelor group of impala, and they will be sticking together and sometimes fighting and getting each other bigger and stronger before they go and collect their harem of females. And they're sitting right down here by the drainage, grazing on some grass. Potentially they'll be moving off, and we heard a little bit earlier, I thought I heard the sound of a squirrel alarm call, which could definitely mean that there is a predator in the area. But we would have seen that these animals would have looked quite alert if it was anywhere close by, because all those different sounds of the bush will tell these animals that there's something close by, and they're looking very relaxed as they come to you. Ooh, what happened there? As I just said, some of the males like to have some confrontation, to build their horns to get stronger, because only one of them will be looking after a whole group of females. And it's an interesting time. It's called the rutting season. So the males will rut, and they will try and take on a harem of females. And a harem is a group of females. And in this period, they get quite tired, because they will be... What's he doing? Looks like he's horning the tree. So they'll be pushing each other so that they can then look after the harem, and they can only really look after all the ladies for about a week, when they get far too tired of them and they can't groom themselves, and that's actually when they're at their weakest point. So a predator may very well take on one of these male impala after a week of looking after the big harem of females. But what is he doing? Looks like he's rubbing his face. Potentially he's trying to get rid of some parasites that are on his forehead. Or he didn't want to get into a fight with one of the other males, so he decided to take it on with a tree. There they go. So they are both browsers and grazers. One just ran there. They're all running now. That one is preferring, so all of them have run off. And one of them is preferring to stick with this tree and and just have a little bit of conflict with it. It's very interesting what it's doing here. There it goes. He's decided that it was time to leave and follow his friends down into the drainage line. So, we finally found some heartbeats out in the bush here. We've had quite a quiet morning is the best way to say it, but to be honest, we just saw some beautiful birds, which I'm very, very excited about. But while we're driving, let's go back to James, and he's with that elephant. So we'll see you in a few moments.
And there he is. He's just hiding behind the bush. We're going to go around onto the fire break and see if we can get a better view of him. We had an amazing view of a bearded woodpecker while you were gone, looking at the impala. And I was told by Rebecca that you'd already had a great view of a bearded woodpecker, so I was very miffy that you didn't want to come and see mine. Anyway, so it goes. Let's pull onto the fire break here. Get a view of him. There he is. And I mean, I know I say this a lot, but I think these elephants quite enjoy an interaction like this where, you know, maybe they're a little bit nervous, but it gives them something entertaining to do other than fill their guts with food all day long. I really see why they shouldn't be interested in some form of entertainment. He seems to have slowed down now, and he's now just feeding, where he seemed to be on a mission, maybe into this area, maybe there's something about this area that is well, no, there's some good eating or something around here. Oh dear, that's not very good. Hold on tight, everybody, there's going to be a bit of a bump. Sorry, I think Sam's got something else interesting to show you.
So we are with a bateleur, and I know you were with the bateleurs a little bit earlier with James. We're sitting with potentially the same bateleur. He's got a starling above there. And if I heard correctly, they were mobbing the bateleur. There goes the bateleur as it flies off its position. Beautiful. Look at the way in which it flies. It's a very, very significant and unique way of flying, the bateleur. Wasn't that very cool? All of that. So guys, enjoy the rest of your day. So we all got to watch a bateleur fly. And it's got such a cool flight. It flies and it almost looks like it's walking on a tightrope, a bateleur. So we've seen, oh, there's something else in the distance here. What is going on? All of a sudden, things are starting to pick up. Looks like it could be another bateleur in the distance. Just going to get into a position where you can... What is that? It looks like there's two of them. One to the left of that. What do you think there, Bryan? Yeah. There's two there. I'm not sure what it is from this distance. It could very well be another two bateleurs. Maybe it looks much bigger than the bateleur that we just saw. Maybe that's... What is that? Cheapest, I want to know what that is. I want to see if we can get closer to it. Is there a road that will take us there? Let's give it a few seconds here. And we spoke about earlier how the knob thorns are really, really nice trees for birds to come and perch on. So as you can see here, two big birds of prey are standing on a knob thorn. And from this distance, with its back facing us, I cannot tell what it is. It could even be a vulture, for all I know. I'm just going to get my binoculars, see if we can try an idea from here. Looks like a martial eagle. It's definitely not a bateleur. It's got a dark beak. Here we go, now I can get a good visual of it. Looks like, oh, isn't that, it's huge. Could very well be two martial eagles. So it's got, the martial eagle is our biggest eagle that we get out here in the bush. Yes. Beautiful. I'm just going to get it out in the bird book so that we can confirm it as a martial. Because from this distance, it's very difficult for you guys to see exactly what it is. So let me just, let me get it. Right. I've only seen it a few times since I've been here. 109, 110. Okay, so this is the bird we just saw. Let's come back out of screen. So we just saw the bateleur. It has a prominent red beak, as you can see here, with the red legs, and the bird that we're seeing in the distance doesn't have those. But it's a large bird. Just trying to see if I can find the martial eagle. Here we go. So this is what I think it is from a distance. From a distance I saw that prominent beak there. But whether or not, I can't remember if I saw white. It's back, it's facing us now. Do you remember seeing white, Brian?
I didn't see it.
Didn't see white. All right. But let's just see if it likes to go in twos. So it's the biggest prey on record that it's caught is 37 kilograms, which is a red duiker. So this bird can really take out all sorts of things out in the bush. Okay. So let's see if we can get closer. That's our best way of being able to ID the bird. Question is, can we get closer? I'm trying to figure out what the roads are like. That would be a, whoa, that would be a first if it is a martial eagle. I feel like it's been a morning of birds this morning. I know that James has been with an elephant, but we've seen so many different birds this morning. It's been fantastic. There's no ways. I don't know if this road will go towards Philemon's Dip, so hopefully we might be able to get into a position where we can see it again. Looks like we're actually driving it away from it. But for now, guys, let's just call it a martial eagle. But I thought also what would be quite interesting for you guys, we just looked at that three-banded plover for a second, and I just thought maybe I should spend a little bit more time showing it to you, especially to the avid birders that really love to see it. So that was the bird that we saw earlier, the three-banded plover. It's a very, very cool bird to see out here. You'll often find it around watering areas. It has a very jerky flight, which is quite cool. Looks like it's going to fall down. But it's a beautiful bird to see out here in the bush. It is the three-banded plover. And we saw the Bennett's woodpecker as well with its wife. Well, not its wife, its female that likes to move over. Let's see what other birds we might be able to find this morning. Maybe we'll find some other little bit of life out here. Sorry, my hair's going everywhere. Maybe we'll be able to find a little bit more other than an impala. Hopefully we can find an nyala. I know that you saw an nyala with James. Not a kudu. But I definitely think that the cold has influenced the geography and the landscape a bit with all the animals on it. Because it was freezing this morning. It was absolutely freezing. Got out of bed and I was very cold. I need to go into town and collect some gloves and some long pants because I might just freeze out here. Wow, look at the size of this tree in the middle of the road. That's exciting. This is the elephants. We don't get to see them, but they just make a nice mess in the road. Just while we go through this little spot here that the elephants have created, let's go and see what James is up to.
I will check if
contact. I'll give you a update.
We're just getting an update, everybody, while we drive along here. We left the elephant feeding sort of along the southern boundary. An update as to whether Karula has come back from Torchwood or not. Somebody's going to check there now, and I'm coming along the area that she used to leave us when she betrayed us and went off to Torchwood instead of staying here at Juma. Haven't come up with anything yet, or indeed anything else. It's been an extremely quiet drive for everybody around here. No one's had anything other than, well, I mean, we've had those wonderful hyenas and the elephant, but there have been no lion or leopard sightings today, which is a little bit odd. There was a male leopard seen at about midnight last night in Buffelshoek, and I wonder if that wasn't our friend who ate the duiker. I'm pretty sure that's who it would have been. Hasn't been found again. Nervous nighttime leopard. Hello, blue butterfrog. You're back on the line, which is wonderful. Lovely to hear from you. You want to know what happens when big cats cross each other's paths? Well, blue butterfrog, when big cats cross each other's paths, it depends what the cats are. Lions, if they are ex-territory, in other words, if they are territorial lions that have strayed into some other lion's territory, well, then there'll be a big fight. Leopards the same. If leopards come across lions, though, because they are so much smaller and so much more secretive, they will run away and hide. Same with cheetahs, they will run away and hide from just about everything else. And on the odd occasion in prehistory when lions and tigers have met, I'm sure there has been the odd bit of conflict, physical conflict. But by and large, the big cats will avoid each other. But there was an amazing story that Viam told me that he read about yesterday, where these two female leopards had fought with each other. And the females, one of them had killed the other, dragged her up into a tree and ate her there. And now that's extremely unusual, because the cats will normally try and avoid conflict, especially the leopards. You can see a very kind of hazy day. If Dave sort of zooms off in front of us there, we should have a very clear view of the mountains, and on a clear winter's day we will have a wonderful view of the Drakensberg Mountains there. But on a day like today, for some reason, there's a huge amount of sort of smog and dust in the air. It's still quite chilly. There's a little bit of a bite in the wind, but it's very pleasant. It's not by any means cold out here. We'll just have a quick look around here. I don't see any tracks. I know somebody has driven the cheetah cut line, which is the far eastern boundary, and then we'll head back off towards the western side. We'll come up with that line. I don't know where he's gone. No one's found his tracks. Oh, there's a huge waterbuck bull. Who doesn't want to be on TV? It's very unkind of him not to want to be on TV. Anyway, so it goes. Oh, let's go across to Sam. He's got some little carnivores to show you.
So we have just seen the funniest interaction between a squirrel and a hornbill. And I'm not sure where it's gone now. It just ran around the corner. There it is. Here's the squirrel. You can see something in his mouth. He just left us. The hornbill wasn't very happy that the squirrel took his food. They were fighting on this termite mound here. It's quite funny to watch. Let's just see if we can get another view of that squirrel. Potentially, yeah, so they were on this termite mound right here, and they were fighting over this little bit of food. Potentially the squirrel will come out and show his face again. Let's hope that he's still there. There you little squirrel. Just gonna go around here. There's the hornbill, so hornbill's right here. Maybe he's trying to look for that squirrel again. There's the hornbill. Let's have a look at that hornbill. Maybe I'll have a look around to see if I can find that squirrel. It was such a funny interaction between the two. My feelings are that they have left, that he's gone and hidden and he's now eating inside this nice little thicket over here. But just inside over there, there are some more impala, which is great to see. So this hornbill will probably be relaxing and waiting for that squirrel to come back out with this piece of fruit. Just in the meantime, while we wait, oh no, he's flown off now. There are some impala that are just in the thicket here. So we haven't seen them all morning. There goes the squirrel. There he goes. Awesome. So the squirrel's gone now. So we're actually going to show you a quick little link of that video playing and interacting with that hornbill. So have a look at that link and we'll get back to you and chat about it in a few seconds. How funny was that? There you go. There you go. So you got to see quickly. I mean, I've almost forgotten exactly what happened. It was myself and Bryan came around the corner, and next thing we saw this hornbill and the squirrel having a little bit of an interaction. We just started laughing straight away. So I'm glad you guys also got to witness that with us. It's amazing how they can replay those sequences that happened literally seconds before. So that squirrel and that hornbill are most likely not going to be the best friends today. That was a little bit of action for the morning. I really, really enjoy squirrels. They provide a lot of entertainment. It's not just Sev, he's not there anymore. He's gone. Goodbye, Mr. Squirrel. So let's see if there's anything lurking around the bushes here. We are in quarantine now, so we're very close to camp. And Tingana was on quarantine just a few days ago. So he's left now, but it's always worth just coming back to see if there's anything else. There goes some sort of bird. Is it a bird? Could be anything. It's a plane. It's a big bird, big metal bird, flying over the savannah this morning. And that's what it would be like if you came and traveled to South Africa and got in one of those small planes and visited Djuma or Arathusa or any of the reserves that are around here to see what it's like here on WildEarth and what it's like to view the animals in real time. So those aeroplanes are moving around and they're doing rhino census. So that's just game kind of trying to count the number of animals that are out here. It's still chilly this morning, I tell you. I don't know if it makes you guys feel cold when watching us, but I'll tell you, Bryan's got quite a lot of gear on. He's got his gloves on and hats. I'm freezing with my hands. My hands were so cold this morning. But it's so fresh, it's so nice now. It's just got beautiful. All the butterflies are out. I actually want to show you guys this termite mound very quickly. Look at this, it almost looks like a little city. And the termites made this. You can see the shadow of our aerial there. And look at that. So you can tell if a termite mound is active or not by looking at the hole. So this is an inactive termite mound. It's incredible just to look at the structure and how they build their dwellings. Amazing. Listen to the sounds of the bush while you look at that termite mound. Incredible feats of architecture from such small little insects. Let's go see how James is doing wherever he is. I hope he's doing well with Elvis the Early.
Now that, everybody, is the carcass of the nyala that the Birmingham boy number 4 was eating last night. And I've stopped here. Watch this. Here comes a vulture. Just keep right there. Oh, he's flown straight over the top of it. There were 2 tawny eagles on the ground and 2 juvenile bateleurs. I just want to sit here for another 1 minute and see if we can't convince them to come down and eat. We're sitting about 100 meters from it, 300 feet or so, and I stopped, quickly turned off the engine, but they still got a bit of a fright and took off. They're all the potential eaters of this carcass are sitting off to the right-hand side. There's another vulture coming in, Dave. Look at him coming straight over the top of us. That's a white-backed vulture. Let's see if he lands here or if he goes and sits and assesses the situation from a distance. I do think it's worth sitting right where we are for just a little bit longer, just in case they don't come back, because we have got this camera with the super zoom on it. Because to find these things, the birds on the ground eating it. You know what? The vultures won't mind. They'll come in close. The eagles might not. Where are the lions gone, however, is anyone's guess. There are no tracks of him. Hold your noses, everyone. It's going to get smelly. Another vulture coming in. So there's the carcass and the vulture. Well, there's the vulture. You can see, and let's just keep watching here. I think we might be shortly inundated with vultures. We'll just keep watching the skies. It's just got warm enough for the thermals to start rising, so the vultures will start to fly. That is a white-backed vulture. Another one flying around there. Whether he comes in or not, I don't know. The one that you've been looking at is just watching these guys taking off. Here they come. Well, there's a bateleur there and a vulture. That's the bateleur you're watching flying fast, and behind them is the vulture. See if they come in here. That, of course, is not either a bateleur or a vulture. It is the aeroplane doing the rhino census. Hopefully finding lots of rhino. You hear the robins calling behind us? Righty. Well, let's have one last look at the carcass and then one last look at that vulture sitting on the tree. I thought we were going to be descended on immediately by a whole lot of vultures, but it seems to be just the one. So we'll let him at his meal and go and see if we can't find tracks of the lion. Righty, so from one fairly ominous looking creature to one fairly innocuous looking creature with Sam.
So we have managed to find ourselves some giraffe, and they literally haven't moved from those positions as we entered here about 5 minutes ago. It looks like there's a male in the back there, the female just in front on the right of our screen. It's got its head right in the bush. See what it's doing. Must be really enjoying a meal in the middle of that bush. Well, it's just behind the bush. Rather, it's probably, you can see there's some oxpeckers on top of its back there as well, which is the bird that will be picking off all the ticks. And the giraffe's tongue, that can get up to 45 centimeters long, will be wrapping its tongue around those branches, as you can see there, and ripping off all the leaves that are on there. I can't tell from here what the type of tree it is, but they truly love the knobthorn trees. So we've seen quite a few knobthorns this morning, mostly the dead ones. We've seen a few dead ones, but knobthorn is one that they truly love. And they are able to get to those trees, those parts of the tree that none of the animals can get to. So they get to a nice rich layer of trees, nutrients that they can get to, whereas the kudu and nyala and the browsers that are lower to the ground would be sharing that same height ratio, so they get quite a lot more food, these giraffe. And that height advantage also can help them with predators. So they're out here close to quarantine clearing, and they can move their heads around and look in all sorts of directions to see if there are any predators that are close by. It's also really cool to spend time with giraffes because they can also help you determine what might be around the area. There comes the male. Look at the way in which it walks. It's a beautiful animal. Very, very dark toned, this male giraffe. And it almost looks like he's just following this female around. He's acting quite strangely. Just standing there looking on. It does look like he's got something in his mouth. Hold on, I think I've just noticed where the youngster is. The young giraffe is just to the left. There we go. Beautiful. There's the young giraffe. So this is the same few giraffes that we've seen a few times. So the female and the youngster are moving around together, and it looks like the male giraffe has been following this young one and the female for quite some time. We saw them on the same clearing a few days ago. I just got a question, I think it was from Felicity, around do giraffes jump? I've never seen a giraffe jump. I can't say that I've ever seen that before. They can kick, though. They've got a very strong kick, so if there's any predator that tries to attack them, whether it be a lion, most likely a lion, they can use those legs, those powerful legs to kick, and they are very quick on foot, so they can take long strides, so they can take some nice jumps forward or leap forward as they run away from every other predator. I think they can run up to 35 kilometers an hour. I've never seen a giraffe running though. That would be an incredible thing to see one day. But you can notice that the male is eating, so he's moving his mouth there. he's got a bolus, so he's chewing the cud is what it's called. So he would have collected a number of leaves and browsed a number of leaves from these trees. Then he would have swallowed it, and then he would have brought it back up his neck, up his throat, back into his mouth, and then start chewing it again. So that's what they do. Ruminants, they're called ruminants. They chew the cud, swallow, and then they bring it back up to try and chew it a little bit more. And this helps with getting all the nutrients that they can from the plants. And you can see the tail wagging in the back there. That will help them for any flies that are trying to, or irritating them around there. A fascinating thing that we saw the other day was a giraffe that got over a clump of bush, like quite a smallish bush, and then started to rub its stomach on the bush. And I believe that they were trying to, he or she was trying to take all the ticks that were on its belly off. As you can imagine, it's quite hard to scratch yourself when all your feet are on the floor. We're very lucky to have hands that can reach around our bodies and scratch that itchy spot. The behavior of this male with this female has been fascinating over the last few days. So the youngster has just gone out of frame now. She'll never stray too far away from the female. Interestingly, as they move out of clearings into thick bush, the female and the youngster will stick close together. But when they go out into an open area, they'll keep the young female or the young giraffe in the thickets while the mother will go out and have a look to see if there's anything out there before letting the giraffe come out, which is a very clever strategy to try and look after the young giraffe. Ergag would like to know if wild dogs go after giraffes. Ergag, I would say that a young giraffe would be threatened by wild dogs, because wild dogs will mostly go for antelope and animals that aren't much bigger than them. But if there is a very young giraffe that they can easily get to, they would definitely go for it, because they are opportunistic hunters. So if the female, the mother is not looking after its young well enough, and the young giraffe is too far away, a wild dog wouldn't be scared to take on that young one. Can't say I've ever seen that happen before. I just thought this is quite useful. I just found in the car a big thorn, which is part of the acacia tree. And we spoke about how giraffes like to eat acacias. So just having a look at this thorn here. Have a look at this thorn. It's a very, very sharp thorn. It's part of the acacia tree. And the giraffe's tongue, that 45 centimeter tongue, can wrap its tongue around this, and you would think that would make it bleed. But the giraffe's tongue is actually very, very black and dark, and in order for it to bleed, it has to go very, very deep into the tongue in order to damage it. So that's why giraffes' tongues are very, very, very black, because the blood vessels aren't close to the top of the tongue. So it's interesting to see how they've adapted to their environment. So there go the giraffes, and we'll sit with them for a little bit longer, see what they get up to. In the meanwhile, let's go see what James is doing with some mushrooms.
And 3.
Well, here I am, everybody, sitting where someone of my station should, around a giant pile of dung. But in the dung, of course, we were asked a little bit earlier about fungus and whether there were edible funguses around. Well, this is not one of those edible funguses. As far as I'm aware, This is something called an inky blackcap. And the inky blackcap is very, very toxic to human beings. So I wouldn't be eating any of this stuff. I may have identified it incorrectly, and that, of course, is the great danger with trying to eat fungus. I just quite liked the way it was growing out of this dung, which is clearly a very fertile spot for for fungus to be growing. And interestingly, this dung, particularly, which obviously at one stage of its existence was an enormous pile of soccer balls, has got all sorts of things growing in it, including other forms of fungi. No, I'm not going to eat that. And many, many different kinds of insects and that sort of thing. But what is interesting here is that I think that this is one of the few dung piles that has been spread about by dung beetles. And we've had so few dung beetles this year because of the lack of rain. And I think this particular pile has been opened out by the beetles. And lots of dung in summer is normally found sort of spread out by the dung beetles. And this summer, it's all been sort of in its soccer balls because there have been no dung beetles to spread it around the place. Now, of course, elephant dung, if you're going to appreciate it, must be aged, much like a fine wine must. And if you get it at just the right age, which of course this is, it gives you a delightful sort of wild, potpourri, spicy, earthy scent. It's marvellous. David, here you are.
Do I have to?
Yes, you absolutely have to. Take a deep breath, everybody. Hey, isn't it lovely?
It is actually.
Not so good when it's fresh. It's a bit ripe then. But aged to about 2 weeks, can't beat it. Starts to lose its flavour after that then. Anyway, that was the interesting mushroom. I found tracks of the male lion going east this way. Didn't find them crossing this road, but there has been quite a lot of activity on this road, and I think that you'll find that he's probably headed quite a long way east. He might be lurking in the bushes around here, but I think he's probably gone quite far east. East, of course, is that away. And Susan, absolutely, you're very worried about driving over dung beetles. You say, am I worried about driving over dung beetles when we drive over dung on the road? Yes, but not at this time of year. There are none around. If there's no rain, there won't be any dung beetles, and you can tell if a pile of dung has got dung beetles in it from the fact that it's been spread out. So don't worry, when I drive through the patties of buffalo dung, I'm not killing any dung beetles. I would have to resist my urge. Oh, this is fascinating. Giraffe is taking a load off.
So we've just repositioned and it's awesome. You can see the young one is lying down in the grass there. Really, really beautiful looking young giraffe. Just to the left of the screen, or in the middle of our screen now. On the left to its father, or potentially could be its father. We don't know if it's the father, of course. It's just the male that's lurking around with this female that's on the right. They'll be moving around. You can see it's a lot darker. The thing is, you can actually tell if it's a male or a female by looking at the ossicones on top of its head. And if the ossicones are rounded and not fluffy, you know that it's a male or a female. So you can tell on this giraffe that it is a male because the ossicones are tired. Hold on. can't get a good position. Look at you. The one I was just looking at the one behind the tree there, trying to figure out something. If it was looking at the Oscars, you can quite clearly see on the one behind the tree there that it had some fur, so that's definitely a female. You can also tell by the distance apart of the ossicones. She's a very, very pretty lady, a pretty giraffe. And they like these open areas. They're not far away from the youngsters. They're the youngsters just lying in the grass, and it's so nice that you see. See the youngster together with the mother. She looks very well hidden, you know. So when they're young, they tend to have a much lighter complexion, and that's going to give them the ability to be camouflaged in the long grass. That's quite pale compared to that of the other giraffes that are much darker now. Hopefully these giraffes will continue to feed over quarantine today and potentially go down to the pan, the pan, to get something to drink. I don't know how dry that pan is now. Either that or Galago pan, and we'll get the privilege of watching giraffe drinking, which is always an incredible thing to watch, how they spread their legs on either side and they dip their necks down to get a sip of water. And then they pull their whole neck up and you just see water spray. It's an incredible thing to watch. Giraffes drinking. See, this giraffe is quite clearly chewing its cud, while the oxpeckers move around, collect all the ticks on it. So it's been a little special morning to watch these giraffes as they are interacting with the youngsters and the elder ones. It's going to be learning from its parents how to live, what plants to browse on. And what's also incredible is they've only got 7 vertebrae. So you would have thought that more than humans, we have 7 vertebrae in our neck as well. So I thought they would have loads of vertebrae in the neck, and they've only got 7, the same as us. So that was an interesting fact that I read. So James Richard said that he's sorry about the antelope tracks that we were looking for this morning. Hopefully we can find some tracks this afternoon when we're out on drive. Of course, James, I'm looking forward to the sunset safari. I think it's going to be myself and Jamie out on safari this afternoon. With that, we've had a great morning here with these giraffe, always learning something new with the different animals that we are with every single day, whether it be those beautiful little birds that we're with. We saw 2 Bennett woodpeckers, which is an incredible thing to see. That's something I haven't seen before. And a 3-banded plover, which has been years since I've seen that. And the white-crested helmet shrike. So it's been an awesome morning for birds and a nice little interaction with some of the giraffes. So hopefully they'll be out here for the rest of the morning. We'll see. But I just want to send a big thank you to all of you that have been here this morning. It's been awesome. Thank you, Bryan and the Thumb, for being out here. It's been fantastic. It's been a bit slow, but the Pirates has been out at work. Thank you, Rebecca. And we'll see you for the sunset safari. Enjoy the rest of your day and sleep well if you're sleeping.